This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I will now call to order this meeting of the Easthampton Planning Board for Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. We are all in person and we are recording. First item on the agenda is public speak. Is there anyone here in the room or online who would like to speak to anything that is not on the agenda tonight?
And for those online, if you'd like to speak, go ahead and use the raise hand function. I'll give you the ability to do so.
Right.
Nothing on mine.
Moving right along, we have a public hearing for Mayanna White Dawson, seeking a special permit and site plan approval to operate a woodworking shop and farm store at 190 to 192 Pleasant Street. Is there someone here to speak to this?
I am. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. So I'm Mayanna White Dawson. This is my husband and partner, Terry Dawson, and we are the owners of Pause and Pivot Farm. We're currently in Williamsburg. And our farm started in 2021 with our intentional decision to leave jobs in corporate America. I was in marketing, branding, leadership. Terry was in engineering and leadership. And we said, hey, how can we make a change that is focused more intentionally on things that are meaningful and we're creating connection in our community. So we leaned into agriculture, craft, and food is kind of the umbrella that we created for our business. And so today our farm produces year-round produce hydroponically. So we have a container farm. It's a 40-foot container. It's fully enclosed. There's no, it looks like the back of a tractor trailer. And we're growing vertically. So we grow 22 panels of head lettuce and salad mix and that sort of thing every single week. So again, we're around 52 weeks a year. We also make small batch baked goods and prepared foods that we sell from the farm using mostly our own ingredients, but also ingredients from other local farms. Terry has a woodworking studio where he handcrafts small pieces of furniture and then also does some retail installation work as well. And then we host small curated events, I'll call them. So pop-up dinners, experiences with our goats, which we won't be doing here in Easthampton, those kinds of things. And again, the foundation of everything that we do, the goal is to create connection and to kind of interweave craft and food and agriculture in everything that we're doing. And again, a lot of it is through events. Currently on our farm in Williamsburg, we have a drop-in self-serve barn shop that is truly our greens, eggs from our chickens, some baked goods. So one of the things that we're really excited about with the new facility is being able to expand that into a true retail space that is staffed, that can expand our capacity to sell more of our produce to more people, especially in this area. So as we've been developing since 2021, we've really focused on intentional growth and thinking about when is the right time to scale. And it just so happened that 190 Pleasant Street went on the market after we had made one of the moves that we make in order to be ready to scale. And it also just so happened that 190 Pleasant Street is the unicorn of a building that allows us to take everything that we're doing and put it into one facility. So our goal is to create a facility that we'll call Farm Kitchen Workshop, which does house all of those things that I just talked about in one facility, allowing us more space so that Terry can create larger pieces that currently he's not able to do without kind of reorganizing the barn space 3 or 4 times throughout the course of a project and moving this here and moving that there and us moving our production, refrigerators and that sort of thing, allowing us to do all of our baking and expand our ready to eat prepared foods through the commercial kitchen that has already been inspected and approved by the Board of Health in town, which is awesome. And I think the thing that really pulls it all together is the ability to bring people together in the community space there through workshops, through pop-up dinners, through all the different things that we've hoped to do, but we just haven't had the facility to do at the farm. So we're really, really excited about the location. And hopefully you've seen in our application that we've had plenty of time to already kind of visualize how we might make this happen. And so the space, it's not plug and play for sure. There are some things that we need to do, but we already, each component of the business was sort of prototyped over the last several years. And now we're ready to take that next step and scale it. So I think the two things that we're here to mainly talk about are the woodworking studio and the retail space, but we're happy to answer questions about anything that was in.
Cool. And we have looked at your material, but some of this is just sort of the public's benefit. Can you just go like maybe through each sort of aspect of this about either A, what changes you might have to make to the structure, and then B, like a little more detail about what you envision. Some of these are, you know, the dinner event stuff is a little more, there's a lot more paths for that maybe than like what the retail store is. But if you can just sort of explain like what you're envisioning for those.
Yes. Yeah. So the retail space, from a physical standpoint, for those who have been inside that building, will be where the bar currently is. So we're actually taking the bar out. We're leaving one little portion of the welcome desk to the facility, but that footprint is what will be our farm shop. And that will be a Monday through Saturday, open, you know, 9 to 6 is what we're exploring. But if we need to wiggle that a little bit based on demand, then we will. And we'll be selling our greens, our baked goods, some prepared foods, and then we say greens adjacent items. So like oils, vinegars, spices, that sort of thing. And anything that other produce would be locally sourced from other farms. So that's the footprint for the farm shop. Again, it's hard to describe for someone who hasn't been in the building, but if you have been in, there was the billiard room to the right. That is a space we're really excited about because, as I mentioned, Terry with his woodworking has had to kind of reconfigure spaces, and we've never had somewhere that he could actually show his pieces. So when we have a few like larger pieces, we have to set up time and kind of peck a corner, clear out a corner of the barn and create a show space. So that will both be a show space for woodworking items, you know, small pieces and furniture, but also can be a place to sit down and consult about custom work as well with clients, which again, we've never had the opportunity to do. It's very exciting.
And so some of this is going to be a workspace for Terry, but some of it like classes and things like that too. Is that right?
Yes, not necessarily woodworking classes, like working with tools on the main floor. Main floor would be, I would say, the closest thing we've ever talked about, which isn't on our immediate agenda, would be like building a birdhouse for kids or something like that, where we have all the parts and pieces and we're not using like saws and that sort of thing. So events and workshops would mainly be more things like spice blending or having a local farmer come in and talk about all the different types of cabbages they grow and why, and, you know, heirloom vegetables and that sort of thing, or tasting events. And so the main hall that is currently the main hall, and then that kind of the addition that was built overlooking the parking lot. Those are the areas where we're going to be hosting events. Our events are always, let's say, reasonably sized, meaningfully sized. Reasonably sized is not right. Somewhere between like 15 and probably a max of 60, depending on the format. But that's because this is Katie. Also, I didn't mention she helps. She works in our farm kitchen, but also helps with a lot of the food. And she and I collaborate on events. And we know when we're trying to pull off, you know, that idea of connecting people and engagement, we can't get bigger than, we definitely couldn't get bigger than 60, but usually around 30, 35 is our sweet spot for those kinds of events. So that's the main hall, and currently we're calling that back space that has the temporary dividing wall that's right by the kitchen, the workshop space. But it's all one big room right now because we have the wall above.
So you gave up the liquor license? I would imagine there was a liquor license there.
Yeah, we did not. We're in the process of requesting a transfer.
Okay.
We won't be open as a bar, you know, traditional bar hours, but we do want to have, when we talk about tastings and kind of the overall experience, we want the ability to collaborate with neighbors, for example, on a beer tasting or a pairing or something like that. So we are in the process of doing that.
Yeah, we've applied. We've submitted all the documentation.
I got one more question about your workspace. This is the third floor, right?
That is the
Basement.
basement, correct.
You got your equipment down there.
Mhm.
You're like sawing and sanding and stuff like that. Will you have a filtration system for that, or will you be doing that actually?
Yes, so that's a good question. So I will be doing that. I found, over the last couple of years, I initially started off with a large piece of equipment that just sucked up dust from each and every machine. And a couple things. One, it's kind of a fire hazard when you've got that, and it's also very loud and kind of cumbersome. And so I've just invested my tooling and equipment to something that it's Festool equipment. So a lot of it is portable, meant to go to the job site, like which would be in someone's home or in some business, and be able to do your work without having to affect any of the patrons or the business there. So every time I'm using a tool that generates dust or a sanding or even a drilling operation, I've got connections to have a vacuum that's right there with the HEPA filter on it. So that's my intention. It's also very convenient.
My concern was like if there's dust all over the place and the spark happens and stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got that taken care of.
I'm a member of a number of different woodworking Facebook groups, and I see folks also. One of the other reasons for me to move away from that is because too many shops, they're creating static electricity with sawdust. So I found that this method's just clean and simple and wonderful.
That was my question. Thank you.
Of course.
See, there's a fourth member group I haven't been introduced yet.
Our biggest fan with us as well. He's very keenly aware of
I would love to talk to you all about a bunch of different things, but I'm not going to hog it all. You all have some chances. Let's just talk about overall traffic. And I think even before I start, I want one more good feel thing, because I truly feel this when I saw this. Congratulations on being able to turn the things you love into a profitable career. I think that's everyone's dream. I just want to start off by looking at this and saying, we're going to have to dot the I's and cross the T's here as a group. But I love this idea for Easthampton, and I hope that this ends up being very successful for you. So with that in play, I'd like to talk about the critical things for me are how many staff, what are the hours? You've gone through some of these things, but as Jesse mentioned, we have to publicly discuss them.
Sure,
I want people to hear this and to know.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about how many staff are going to be there in all the myriad different businesses at any given time. I'd like to talk about what their hours are and also parking and traffic impact.
Yeah.
The total number of vehicles, I saw you put a little bit in here, but I also saw that it wasn't, there was no kind of review from a professional traffic person. I know from previous meetings that we've had concerns about the impacts to Pleasant Street as it continues to develop.
Yeah.
I've just hit you with a lot.
Sure. Yeah, so I can speak to staffing for sure. So right now we have 4 paid employees working at Williamsburg. Like I said, we are very lean, but we have a built out org chart that has kind of the 4 different, I'll call them business units. So the farm kitchen, which would be the food side. So that's anything baked or prepared. We'll have 2.5 employees. It depends on probably seasonality to an extent. It could go up to 3 to start. And then the farm itself, because we're going to be growing here, but we're going to continue growing in Williamsburg, will be probably like 1 3/4 people. So we currently have a full-time employee who is managing almost all of the farming production over in Williamsburg. So she will have an expanded role and continue to oversee both farms, but we will be hiring to help to support her so that we can continue production and scale the production. From a woodworking standpoint, Terry is pretty self-sufficient and more flexible from an hours standpoint. So he will be looking for an apprentice type role to support him, someone who's looking to kind of learn at the same time as they're hands-on. So that one we have different options to explore for that. For example, Terry has had conversations with Smith Boak. Is there somebody who's looking to have that kind of experience, and would that be an option? And then in the retail space, we'll have definitely one full-time, somebody who's there, for the entire probably full-time hours, Monday through Saturday, and then probably 2 part-timers is how we're looking at it.
So am I up to like 8 now, something like that?
Well, some of the part-timers can flex to do both things. So that's the goal is to have somebody who might be harvesting and packaging produce can then work in the retail space or work on helping with inventory.
I'm sure it'll come up a little on event times because you'll need extra help.
Exactly
But
right.
just on a normal given day, about how many of your staff do you think will
And
be in the
people
building?
in the building,
Staff.
more than 4
On a given day.
on a given
Given
day
Tuesday.
right now.
But that's
Or like at one time though, right? Like
At
you
one
might
time,
have-
yeah, I think probably the max would be 6.
I'm heading toward parking.
Yeah, sure. No, I
Of course.
hear you. I hear you. Well, we're one car. We could actually be one car. But, yeah, so I would say max would be 6. But probably max of 5 vehicles, for staff.
Okay. And I want to talk about that, but first I want to talk about the hours. You mentioned the daytime hours. Can you tell
Yes.
us the hours that you intend for this to be open? When can the public access?
Yeah, so the farm shop currently, like I said, 9 to 6 is what we're looking at, but if we need to be open earlier than that, we're absolutely open to probably, I would say 7 would be the earliest that we would be willing to open, but 9 to 6 is how we're thinking
And
about
events
it.
could go later.
Events will, yeah, so the latest we would go with events is 10 PM. And more than like, and that would only be on the weekend. More than likely, we would like to do Thursday evening events. That would end by 9 PM.
So you put 44 parking spots, so there were 49 there, and you've got the big new 40-foot,
Yeah.
say, which could be 4 or 5, so you may end up with 45, 44 spaces. You're being conservative, which I appreciate. And you've got 5 possibly for staff, and use, which leaves 39 essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jesse or Dylan, have you looked at this at all? I know it's Mill Industrial is how it's owned, to look at what the required parking is for this facility. Does anyone know that off the top of
I didn't check it. The application says 29 to 30, but I didn't check that.
Yeah, I believe that is correct. I can double check that one. I do know,
We can have it for, I don't know.
yeah, when I did my initial intake review and I checked all the boxes, I believe it checked that.
Met it, okay.
I know in talking with engineering, they didn't have any specific comment on this when asked, or concerns about traffic, anything like that. They didn't feel it, rose to that threshold, but that's, lack of a comment as opposed to endorsing it, right? I should mention.
All right, so then I had a couple other things here before I move on, and I know others are gonna wanna talk about things like trash and lighting and snow removal and all that stuff. But just the traffic component here. You've given us a little bit of a rundown on what you think the impact is gonna be. And I just want to kind of review that. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
All right, so I just want to get here. I'll read it out if that's all right, unless you want to kind of just to read it and discuss what your intent was. I'll read it.
Yeah, you're
Okay. So you said that peak hours during CSA pickups are Tuesday to Friday afternoons, and during events, pop-up dinners roughly 2 to 4 times per week. You said during the CSA pickup, approximately 5 additional cars per hour will enter and leave the lot between 12 and 6. And then you've gone on during events, we could see up to 30 vehicles entering the lot 15 to 30 minutes before start time with a staggered departure until 9:15 on weekdays and 10:15 on weeknights. Is that your anticipated event end date? End time is 9:15? You're not going to
9. Yeah, we wouldn't go any later than 10 on the weekend, but 9 on weekdays.
This is a bit of a branch, but I want to understand this.
Sure.
It seems like it's a delightful place to visit. It's a really great end cap to our mill area. But if someone wanted a great dinner, you could go there. If I wanted to have a wedding event or something like that and be up dancing late and singing karaoke, is that an event that I do with you?
So based on how we man events and implement events, I guess personally and philosophically from a business standpoint, a large wedding with karaoke probably wouldn't be the right thing for our facility. Something that was designed around a couple that was, somebody who really either was involved in agriculture or loved local food and wanted that to kind of be a highlight. Katie and I would eat that up. We would love it because we try to create something unique every time we plan an event. Because the way that we think about events in the space is that we will help to plan them. It's not just rent it and come put up your streamers and have your karaoke. That's not how we.
So that means that your 10:15 makes sense to me, because on other events I would see later. And I want to just caution you that the planning board, I mean, sometimes we try to help. I think this would be a case where I do that, but we tend to lock things in based on what you say.
Mhm.
And so if you really want to have the flexibility to go to 11 or to go what to the ordinance says you're allowed to do, you should probably ask for that and not have us lock you into something that so just consider that. I'm going to go on with this. You said that traffic flowing out of the lot behind the facility will exit onto Pleasant Street, as it normally does now. And I know that's a little on ramp.
Right.
That's always been a little bit of a dicey exit, but not just for you, it's for everyone going through the, so that's a highly trafficked region. I'm sure we've all been on that. And vehicles will either turn left or right. You're not planning on making any changes to that, are you? Are there any plantings or anything that would block view or?
No. Go ahead.
We've actually talked about doing some work on the main tree that's right outside to provide better visibility, because it is huge and does kind of take up your space, which we've observed just over the last month and a half of working in and out of there.
Is that on your property, that tree?
It is, yeah, it's right behind the main lighted sign. It just makes it so you have to kind of pull up and kind of peek out around it.
Yeah.
So we
love
were
this
thinking
idea.
about changing it.
I don't know about how others feel.
I mean, I know the tree, I would certainly not discourage that. I don't know. I don't know that we need to condition it,
No,
but like, I agree. I think, I mean, it's one of those cases where they're gonna be driving in and out of this driveway more than almost anyone else. So it's in their interest too to work on that. I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and it affects a lot of people, and safety, I think, is one of the big things we focus on here. All right, so.
Can I just add a little bit? So we've been hosting events at our space in Williamsburg. And so when we say, the show's over, like the bright lights come on at 10 p.m., it's, for us, that's our end time and we're finished. But when the folks that come, the 30 to 35 people come, some come a little bit early, some come a little bit late. So it's kind of a staggered entry. It's not like there's something as like an itinerary that's going to happen and they're going to miss something if they don't arrive right at that moment. But usually we'll start with just kind of let's gather together and, have a drink and visit for a little bit. And then we'll sit down as everything gets organized. And then the same is at the end of the event. There are some folks who come have dinner. They can only hang for half an hour because they get a babysitter they get back to and they take off. So it's never been, I guess at one point we had about 30 cars in our parking location at our farm. And it wasn't like closing of a concert and everybody's in line trying to get out. It's
A little more staggered.
right.
on both sides.
It's people are making their way out at their leisure and it's not
That'll help, yeah.
I don't know why, but something tells me that your kind of shop is going to be very popular.
I hope so.
So I am concerned about the amount of flow that comes in and out there. But I do recognize that there is a lot of additional parking further in Eastworks. It's a bit of a walk, but it's not impossible if overflow situations happen. So I'm taking that into
also, there's the other parking lot, the public parking just on the other side of the rail trail.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Like the horseshoe facility there with the kids.
Which I'm not sure the stuff behind the mill building is technically public.
And yet it might be the private. That's a good point.
Yeah.
They are, yeah.
That's private, so
Discouraged.
let's not do that on that, but.
Yeah.
Public one.
But Millside.
Yeah, Millside definitely is. And the bike path, I love the reference to the bike path. I mean, the more we can get people showing up on the bike path, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Good points. So where was I here? Visitors to the farm shop, exit the vehicles, walk to the building entrance on the west end of the building. Deliveries will be limited to weekdays and will only involve tractor trailers with lift gates 1 to 2 times a year when growing supplies are delivered. Otherwise, deliveries will occur by a truck or small box truck. Can a tractor trailer get down through that?
Oh, we've seen
Oh,
it.
they have.
The tractor trailers actually use our lot to back into Eastworks right now, so.
It makes sense.
We'll
It's
have
a
to
mill.
figure
They
that
have
out.
to get
Yeah.
their
Miles
miles
to get
together.
in there.
So it absolutely makes sense. And finally, I think, well, let's see if it's finally, not quite. Loading and unloading will happen via the basement door, off the parking lot or via the front door. The side entrance will be discouraged for loading and unloading due to traffic congestion in the driveway. For customer traffic and visitors to the rear parking lots of Eastern and Eastworks. The facility will feature a welcome desk inside, and I was going to skip because that's really what I cared about there for parking. So what I haven't seen is any kind of real calculation of what the impact, you're kind of estimating, I think you said 30 cars. It's kind of like the average one during weekdays, coming and going at any one time, keeping the place busy. So I haven't really seen any kind of, what is the impact of 30 cars to Pleasant Street as a whole, on a constant basis. My take is that what was there before had more evening or later in the day activity. That's anecdotal. Okay, I don't have any evidence for that, but that's sort of my suspicion. And I'm curious, my thought on this, I bring it up to say it because I want it to be known that we're thinking about it. My personal thinking, and I'm hoping others will share their opinion, is that you're at a threshold with what you're doing and the kind of traffic that's in there and in an area where there's already a lot of traffic, that it's not enough to warrant a traffic study. That's my feeling on this. But I'd like to just toss that out to the rest of the board. Maybe this is something we can discuss and check off.
I tend to agree, but like you, I think this may be more successful than you think. So I'm thinking more about, maybe it is having a condition that caps the capacity, right? About like how many people are there. That, I mean, because you've got space for 30 cars, but it doesn't mean you could have another 30 over at Millside Park, which might be hard for you to say no to just because it's a business. Yeah. But that may be like the way we handle it is just going with their upper number of 60 attendees or something like that. And I guess if things take off and you've got a plan for doing more than that, you can always come back and modify it and we can talk about that then. But that would be my instinct, is just like, this doesn't seem like it's going to rise to the level of impacting traffic in a meaningful way. Even when I think they're doing all the road work out on Northampton Street and people are coming around the Pleasant Street side. But I think, I do think that like it might be one of those places. I mean, we had this come up when Tandem first opened up and it was like, oh, there's not a lot of parking, but we'll be fine. And every weekend I drive by there.
It's not fine.
But it's also a great thing to have in town, and it's good when we're doing well. So that's kind of my thought generally. It's the same sort of thing, is it doesn't seem like it calls out for like a formal traffic impact analysis, but.
Yeah, I agree, but could we circle back like in a year or so and talk to the owners and say, listen, what has your capacity been? Has it increased?
We can't really circle back other than they're always free to come back for a modification.
Okay.
Which is why I'm sort of thinking like you put sort of, as James was saying about the hours too, right? Like we can be generous with the hours. You can stay up until 11, like whatever. And then if it looks like that's not enough, then they can come back and it will be just a discrete issue of, hey, we'd like to expand our capacity. This is why, we've been having 60 people, but it's only 20 cars when 60 people come or whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because we don't really have a method to get people back in here.
And based on the discussion, we probably have a traffic study in hand before we can replace it.
That's what I mean, right? So if things are going that well and you have this one issue, you could say, okay, you know what, it might be time to do a traffic analysis and come back and say this is going to have a big impact, and we think we could be selling, do 100 people dinners or whatever.
Right.
That would be my thought. But what were you going to say, Wendy?
That sounds good. And Jamie covered pretty much everything I was thinking of. But the one thing I will say that I was pleased to read was that you guys said you would take the flags for the Legion. Because when I heard that the Legion was closing, one of the first things I thought of was, what are people going to do with their flags? So the fact that you'll still be the drop-off space, that's.
Yeah, we actually asked them to manage continue to manage the American flag out front as well. And they were pretty excited about that.
I'm a veteran and I feel strongly about those organizations. So we've agreed to have them just continue to meet there upstairs for a year, because we don't know where we'll be at in a year. We know we won't be doing anything upstairs at the moment that will be affected by their being able to meet there. So yeah, we feel strongly about it, and imagine it was emotional decision for that.
Couple more boring logistical questions. So snow removal, you must be dealing with this already.
You're looking at them.
Yeah, I when we entered into our agreement in September, it gave me an opportunity to trade in my truck and get a large truck to push the snow.
Where are you pushing?
And yeah, so where's it going on here?
To the same pile it was at when I got there in January. So
all the way down
all the way to the
Rotary
parking lot, yeah. And then I cleared the fire hydrant and the sidewalk all the way down to the rail trail along the front.
And trash removal, is there going to be a dumpster?
Wheel waste management. There was a dumpster there and we just secured a contract to continue with them.
What's the current lighting in that back lot or exterior lighting?
So there's one street light on its own, but then there are 4 independent lights that are shining down on the parking lot itself off the building.
Okay, and no changes to that?
No changes to that.
And especially with like the hydroponic thing, water and electricity, like what are you, some of that's in your application.
Yeah,
just
sure.
Walk us through that a little bit.
So electricity is what fuels the machine. So our electrical consumption will go up a fair amount as we use lights as the sun But it's fully enclosed. There'll be no light emission from the space. And in terms of noise emission, the machine itself, although the plants may sing when we're out of there, we don't know it, but there's no noise other than a couple of internal fans inside that are just moving air. But there is one HVAC unit on the back that does operate to control humidity, but it's typical of a 2-bedroom house, HVAC unit. And for water, so there's 2 tanks, one for our young seedlings and one for our mature plants. If you sum them together, it's about 120 gallons worth of water that we change over every 6 weeks. So when we change over, what it looks like at home for us is that we take it and use it on our farm in our yard because it's still fertilizer, although we're not using it exactly this time of the year. It's going to be in places where we want it. Where we're at in Easthampton is different because it's a parking lot right up back. So we're going to take it and also the I'll call it the compostable components from the farm. So the grow mediums that we use, plus the parts of the plant that don't get harvested in the food production process, we're going to take those and take them all back to our farm for compost collection and also to be able to reuse that water there. So water consumption for the farm itself is around 5 gallons a day when fully operational.
You said some of it in the summer you're able to recapture, is that right?
Well, so
We're water positive.
yeah, controlling the humidity and trying to, because the lights are what heat it during the winter time, 99% of the time, unless it's really, really cold. So the lights generate enough heat to heat the space. The air conditioner does come on even during the winter just to control the humidity. During the summer, it gets really hot, so the AC is running continually to maintain around between 70 and 75. And we just reclaim all that condensation and aspiration from the plant. So after 2 or 3 weeks, we have to relieve it a little bit because we're water pots.
That's great. So it sounds like the farm process isn't really generating much in the way of waste that will stay here, right? That's the waste will basically go back to Williamsburg. What about the rest of the operation? You got a commercial kitchen, any other sort of like unique waste issues that are more than just a regular dumpster?
I think the only thing that was not there that we added is a recycling dumpster. There was no recycling program there. But that's the only thing that would be
But so nothing strange other than regular waste pickup from a
correct.
dumpster
Yeah,
recycling.
that's right.
Can I just ask, are you using the same location for the dumpster? Or there's
Yeah, we reduced the size of it a little bit and increased the frequency. Is that correct? Increase the frequency?
Correct.
Pickup. And so we have 2 smaller.
too small?
I don't know if it's the exact same footprint as what was there before, but.
Anything special you have to do with the waste from the woodworking? Sawdust?
No, all the wood, so we heat our house with a wood furnace. So I mean, we won't this year because of the project we've got now, but we also do maple sugaring in the springtime. So any piece of wood that's not used in a project is kept in a
We burn it.
location to be burned again, either for sugar or for heat.
Quite the inheritance he's got going. That's amazing. A lot of work.
Any other questions from planning board members? Eric?
Yeah, how you gonna pick the 40 guests?
How are you gonna pick them?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. So I'll let you answer. Because it's such a good question, I can't answer. Man, how do you pick the 40 guests that would come?
It's a great question. Do you mean how are we inviting people?
Is that gonna be like an online type of thing or?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So it will be event dependent. So if the format of the event is a pop-up farm dinner, we would probably use our email list and we promote on our own social media channels. But we have a pretty good sized local, actual customer email list that they're fairly engaged. So we usually go there first. So typically it would be customers that are familiar with us. Something like a workshop, we would probably go kind of a little further afield to bring in new faces. We would promote it in the farm shop, of course, but we use traditional, flyering and public bulletin boards and that sort of thing. So it really depends on the format of the event, how we would promote it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Planning department, any comments, questions, things we missed?
Nope, fire has signed off on this. Obviously, things will change, but Captain Constantine said everything's working the way that it should. I think there had been a fire when it was still the Legion on the top floor. Sprinkler system worked, everything's up to date, looks good. No comments from engineering and no comments from DPW, so.
Any public comments in the room or online?
Or online and would like to speak, use the raise hand function, ability to do so. Got one. All right, Charles, you should be able to accept and then you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
And name and address, please. Oh,
Says all
All
muted.
muted. Is it?
Like the way mine were.
Okay,
there we go.
am I audible?
Yes.
This is Charles Dudek and Mary is here also. We've been customers of Maya and Terry since they opened up shop in Williamsburg. And as I mentioned in my written submission, I was a former chair of the Williamsburg Zoning Board of Appeals and also served on the planning board, and I'm on the town finance committee now, so I can vouch that Terry and Maya have been solid citizens up here in Williamsburg. And we've been the beneficiaries of their produce and their pastries, thanking Katie in particular for the pastries. And, from my perspective as a former member of a planning board and on the zoning board, we issued the permits in Williamsburg. We were the permit issuing authority. I can say that if I was looking at their application, I would grant it. I would think, and I would say that their activity, their business, their intentions would be in harmony with the other businesses in that location, that area of Easthampton that I've frequented over the years. So those are my comments.
Thank you very much. And so just for the record, we did have 4 or 5, maybe 6 letters and emails. I would say like personal testimonials on behalf of the applicants as how they are as people and currently operating their business. Anybody else want to speak? Oh, we got someone in the room. Please, name and address.
Melissa Jadzak, I'm at 21 Federal. I'm also the Precinct 2 City Councilor, so I am your City Councilor. So I wanted to just partially introduce myself, but also just speak generally in support. Always like to see new businesses come into the area. This seems, just to echo some of the comments, seems like a really great fit. I know that there will probably be other comments from other neighbors as things progress, especially around traffic, which I know, especially as folks have mentioned on Pleasant Street, is a sort of perennial concern, but it sounds like you've been thinking about it really thoughtfully. So I'm not personally worried about that. The only other thing I'll mention is just in addition to being excited to see you really progress this and open up, also in future, I'm just interested to see how this can also tap into the rich history of that neighborhood, which has a lot of just historical, significance for Easthampton and is pretty unique. So I'm really thrilled to see you also supporting the Legion as well and continuing that at least for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so I just want to think about some conditions. I think the outer window of time we heard was basically 7 to 11. Does that sound?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
just sort of playing it safe, and I think that makes sense. And I think it sounds like it's probably reasonable to sort of cap this at 60 guests at a time kind of thing. If that makes sense to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know, you'll forgive me, I may have missed this, the actual building capacity set by the fire department? Do you
It's
know?
350.
350.
Very large. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, parking is the real reason I want that cap.
Yeah, parking and traffic.
That's
Well,
really
and
why.
And because again, like I think we're all sitting here saying 60 people at an event would be great for you or too many, but like that would be good. And so like it just gives me a little more comfort to not do the deeper dive on the other stuff, but I would be happy to discuss a
Just a little
different
bit.
number. I mean,
The worry I have with it is, I think it's the right move, but I worry about where the sweet spot is. I don't want to over limit you, but I also don't want to really add too much traffic.
how about 80 people, which is 40 spots times 2.
I love it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like you're in my head.
I'm trying to think if there's any other conditions we need. I mean, basically everything that you guys have said today about what you're going to do and your plans become part of the decision and you're sort of bound to do those things. I don't think there's anything else that we need to explicitly condition other than putting in the hours. And, I mean, it sounds like maybe we want to, I'm just thinking about the hours, like maybe we don't want to go till 11, 7 days a week. I mean, they're talking about 9 or 10 on weeknights, like that might give some protection for, but I don't feel strongly about that.
I mean, there is some residential on the other side of the street, but I just don't see that impacting.
I don't think this is gonna be loud. I don't think there's gonna be smells. I think the traffic is now gonna be capped at, you know.
Used to be a Legion there one time.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
With the perspective, and you are next to, you know, mill industrial complex, like,
Yeah.
I think we're okay with that. So,
Without the loud music or, you're good. You're good.
I motion to approve the special permit and site plan approval for Miana Hoyt Dawson on 19192 Pleasant Street.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? All right, we will work on getting a decision for you, but congratulations, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy. We'll see a lot of us.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Anything else on the agenda, Dylan?
That was it.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Voting to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Well done,
Have a
Jesse. Thank
wonderful
you.
night.